Hello, 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 good people, and welcome to Happy, Healthy, Whole with Sharea. I am Sharea, and today we are talking mental health versus mental illness. What is the difference? As we get ready to kind of embrace the subjects that we talk about on this channel around emotional wellness, emotional health, mental health, and all of those good things, I wanted to set the foundation for our understanding. I was having a conversation. Last week or sometime earlier this week with my husband about how hard it is for people to get or grasp the difference between mental health and mental illness. And as a result, sometimes it creates stigma without even knowing. And I really wanted to start with helping us to understand what's the difference, why it matters, and how we can do better to support ourselves and each other. So stick with me for the next couple of minutes and we're going to unpack this together. If you haven't already, like and subscribe to this channel. If you get anything out of this video, please share it with others because it is always helpful for us to grow together. So what are we going to start with? We're going to start with mental health. What is mental health? First, when we think about mental health, we just think about this foundation of our emotional, psychological, and social well being. It's about how we feel, how we think, and how we interact with others. And so, really, our mental health doesn't matter whether we're happy or not. It's not going to mean that you're happy all the time. It means that you can manage life's ups and downs, you can bounce back from multiple challenges or issues, and you can maintain a sense of balance in life. It's like physical health, where we've got to do things to take care of our body, such as rest, exercise, and other things that can help us have healthy habits. It is very similar with our approach to our mental health, where we have to do things to make sure that we are taking care of our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. So things like journaling, meditating, talking to a friend or talking to a trusted friend, working with a therapist in some cases, or even getting outside and taking walks can all be ways to really assist in helping with our mental health. The reason why this is so important to understand is because mental health basically is something that all of us have. And depending on where we are with our well being, our social well being, our interactions, our psychological well being, we really can have a healthy, balanced life around our mental health. And other times we can struggle with it. Very different than what we know about and understand about mental illness. And so the reason why there is a difference is because mental illness impacts not just your thinking, your mood, and your behaviors, but it's all of these things incorporated. So mental illnesses are diagnosable medical conditions that have significant effects on how we think, how we feel, and how we behave. These conditions can vary from severity and the duration, which means that you can have disturbance in some portions of your life and then later on it not be an issue. Relationships and even physical health uh, can be can be impacted by your mental illness as well as your mental health. Some examples of mental illness and things that we may hear people talk about is very different when we say we have anxiety, but when we have an anxiety disorder, this means that this condition can be generalized anxiety, panic attacks, or panic disorders, um, phobias, which all can exceed far past just basic anxiety or being anxious. It exceeds fear, worry, and panic. It goes beyond that. And so now it starts to intrude in those areas that we mentioned earlier when we're talking about our thinking, our feelings, and how we behave. The next one, or an example of one, can be depression. Depression is this persistent feeling of sadness, hopelessness, and a lack of energy, and ultimately, it impacts things like our interest in activities and our interest in taking care of ourselves and our hygiene and different things that it can impact. Now, I'm not going to go into all of the mental illness, and I do think what I'll do is pick maybe about three of them and kind of go into them a little bit so that you can understand them. And then bipolar is another example, which is a extreme mood swings, including emotional highs, which can be categorized as manic or hypomanic, depending on what you're dealing with, and then these extreme lows, which is going to fall into depression. And so when we look at bipolar, there's this level of understanding the types of bipolar that you might have to be able to really understand the mental illness that you're dealing with when it relates to bipolar. The next one that I think a lot of people are aware of and kind of think of when we stigmatize or we kind of make these offset I want to just call it ignorant uh, descriptions of how we see the ill. And that one is schizophrenia. And that is a complex mental illness that a lot of people don't understand, but it involves distorted thinking, perceptions, and often can be variations of hallucinations and or delusions. And like I said, I'm not trying to get into each of those today because this is only supposed to be about a 10-minute video. But I wanted us to just kind of hear some of the differences when it comes to mental illness versus mental health. Mental illness can result in a combination of factors, and it includes or come from a combination of factors. And those can include our biological, which is our chemical imbalance in the brain, and our hormonal changes. It can be genetics, which means a family history of mental health conditions or mental illness conditions can increase your risk of actually having a mental illness, just like other physical illnesses or other illnesses that we may have, like hypertension. Those things can be genetic and also biological, which means that they could have a combination of those components. That means that you could actually have it in your DNA where it actually makes you a higher risk of getting it. Environmental factors such as trauma, abuse, and chronic stress can be triggers for mental illness. And then other things like lifestyle, poor sleeping habits, substance use, and a lack of support systems can contribute. That does not mean that these things will lead to those things, but these are all contributing factors that can help or can impact the mental illness that a person may have in terms of a medical condition. It's important to understand that mental illness is not something that you just snap out of or you kind of fix it or can smear it away with some willpower and some positive mental health thinking or mindset thinking. It's not that simple. These are genuine medical conditions that often require professional support. And that professional support can vary according to the individual and how they need to help be supported. It could be therapy, which means different forms of therapy, which might be very specific to, say, cognitive and cognitive approaches, such as like cognitive behavioral therapy, dialectical behavior therapy, can all provide these management tools for or strategies for, say, the symptoms that you might have for the mental illness or condition that you have. Medications can be prescribed by psychiatrists. I think it's really important to understand that medication can help balance brain chemistry and alleviate some of the symptoms. So it's important to make sure that you have a practicing psychiatrist that can support your journey individually when it comes to mental illness. These conditions vary, and so I don't say everyone has to have the same type of medication or everyone has to be on specific types of medications, but these things should be evaluated as you're getting some of the symptoms or managing symptoms as you may have been diagnosed with a medical condition or a mental illness that really does impact your brain chemistry. Support system, friends, families, and support groups can all be crucial in your healing process when it comes to mental illness. Understanding that healing is ongoing. Just like when we think about recovery from anything, we have to know that even in the immediate recovery, it feels like this is the end result. But the truth is that there's still this journey of ongoing habits that you have to adjust. So, for example, if I'm diagnosed with diabetes or if I'm diagnosed with heart disease, there's going to be immediate things that I need to do to get my sugar under control, to get my heart rate down, or to get my heart under control. And some of those medical things might be medications and also therapies that might have to do with my emotional or stress levels. But what I'm also going to start thinking about are my lifestyles, my support system, those things that are going to help me on my entire healing journey. Because even after I get my levels under control, regardless of if it's hypertension, diabetes, or mental illness, even after I get it under control or manageable, I still have to have ongoing practices that help me to maintain my well-being with that mental illness or with that illness. So lifestyle changes, things like better sleep, nutrition, exercise, and other forms of holistic approaches can help your treatment. My goal in giving this kind of difference is that you understand that by seeking help early, you then get the opportunity to have a manageable mental illness and live a fulfilled life and meaningful lives. And it's okay to get used to or having supports in your life, because no one tells a person who has diabetes to stop going to see their doctor. They actually encourage them. They ask questions about when the last time they saw their doctors. If they notice that someone's levels are not managed, they mention that it might be time to go and see or evaluate with a doctor. I think we need to break the stigma so that people with mental illness can do the same and have the same luxury of it not being a stigma attached to seeking help, and getting support, so that people can feel like this is an opportunity, like every other illness, to manage it, and to manage it so that you're, excuse me, to manage it so that you're healthy enough to have a fulfilling and meaningful life like everyone. Excuse me. Like I said, these are just a few of the things that makes the difference between mental health and mental illness. I wanted to try to keep this down to 10 minutes, so I'm going to do just that. So here are some quick connections. You can have good mental health while managing mental illness, and you can experience poor mental health even if you don't have a diagnosable condition. That's important to know, because it's these type of things that keep us away from the stigma to think that one is worse than the other, and having a mental health or mental illness means something is wrong with us. When in reality, just like every other illness, it's about managing the symptoms, taking care of yourself, and getting the right supports around you in order to do so. Mental health is for everyone. All of us have a mental health, which means that taking care of our mental health can be very important when we are treating our mental illness if we have a diagnosable condition. And so we want to be able to balance and understand this from the perspective that although everyone has mental health, everyone may not have a mental illness, just like everyone may not have diabetes. But when given those conditions or diagnosed with these conditions, it's important to manage your symptoms according to that diagnosis, and understanding that you don't have to do it alone. You are not alone, and there is nothing wrong with you, and you don't need to be fixed. You need the support like everyone else to help manage an illness. So some support systems that, or support resources that I always give to clients who may have issues or concerns about their mental illness is NAMI helpline, which is 1-800-950-NAMI, which is NAMI. And these are for free mental health information and resources in your specific area. Also, for the National Suicide Prevention Hotline, you can call 988, and you can talk to someone 24/7, which means that you can call at any time. And for some therapy resources, websites like Psychology Today, Therapy for Black Girls, Self-Care for Black Girls, because we're trying to grow our actual directory as we speak. You can help find a good therapist for your own self. And then a crisis text line that might be helpful is 741-741. And feel free to text them as well for support at any time. Again, remember, reaching out for help is a strength. It is not a weakness, and you are not alone in any of your journeys. Whether we are dealing with our mental health and trying to establish healthy well-being, or whether we are dealing with a diagnosable condition, we deserve to know that we have supports around us that want us to be well and to have our best selves. I hope that you enjoyed this information. If you have any questions in the comments, try to see if I can answer them. I will be on a hiatus from social media for January. And so if I don't immediately respond to your questions, it will be as soon as I get back into the social media groove of life. All right, y'all take good care of yourselves. I hope that you understand some of the differences between mental health and mental illness. And I will try to think about maybe doing a series of 3, maybe schizophrenia, bipolar, depression. Oh, that's just 3. Oh, wait, bipolar, depression, and or maybe something on personality disorder, since we love to throw around the narcissistic word. All right, y'all take care of yourselves. Like and subscribe. I hope you enjoyed yourself. Also, if you haven't already, and below this video, we have 5 Signs for Unresolved Trauma. If you're interested, is a free webinar that I put on, and it is on demand and you can watch it at any time for free. Take care of yourselves and be well.